Welcome back to Threshold City. This is Shadows of the Night by Raven Knight. Chapter 7. Stress Test. I didn't sleep. Not because I was afraid, because I was listening. The spiral under the table didn't hum, didn't glow, didn't shift. It just sat there like it had always belonged. That was worse. Liam stayed on the line longer than he needed to. Not talking, just present. Around 2 a.m., he finally said, "You're still there." "Yes." "Still breathing?" "Yes." "Good. You should go home." "I'm in my car." I glanced toward the window. "You didn't." "I did." "That's inefficient." "I don't care." I didn't argue. That told him enough. By morning, the city felt tight. Not loud. Tight. Like something had drawn invisible lines through it overnight. I crouched under the table again in daylight. The spiral looked smaller in the sun, less ominous, just carved wood. That's the trick with structure. It looks harmless until it holds weight. I didn't touch it. Not yet. Instead, I called Jessie. She answered on the third ring. "If this is about another corpse," she said, "I'm charging overtime emotionally." "No corpse." "Then why are you awake at dawn?" "There's a symbol carved under my kitchen table." Silence, and then, "That's new." "Yes." "Define carved." "Precise, clean, intentional? Break in?" "No." She exhaled slowly. "Okay, I'm coming over." "You don't have to." "I want to see it." That surprised me. "You're curious," I said. "I'm cautious," she corrected. "Curiosity just makes it tolerable." Jessie arrived with a travel mug and the same hoodie from last night. She crouched beside me under the table without ceremony. "Well," she said after a long moment, "that's not amateur." "No." She leaned closer, squinting. "The edges aren't splintered," she murmured. "They didn't use a blade." "I know." Her eyes flicked to mine. "You know how?" "Because wood resists steel differently." She held my gaze a second longer than usual. "Okay," she said softly. "What did they use?" "Something that doesn't drag." "That's not reassuring." "No." She sat back on her heels. "You said this isn't active." "It isn't." "How do you know?" "Because I'm not on the floor." That earned a thin smile. "Comforting," she said. There was a knock at the door. 3 sharp raps. Not Liam. His knock was 2, pause, 1. I stood slowly. Jessie stayed crouched. "You expecting anyone?" she asked. "No." Another knock. Same rhythm. Not impatient. Measured. I walked to the door and checked the peephole. Uniform. One of the officers from last night. I opened the door halfway. "Yes?" "Ms. Echoes?" he asked. "That's me." "Detective Grafton asked me to swing by. Make sure you were secure." That sounded like Liam. "I'm secure," I said. The officer shifted slightly. "There's been another report." My spine went still. "Where?" "Archive building, downtown." My eyes flicked briefly toward the kitchen, then back to him. "Alive?" I asked. He hesitated. "No." "Of course not." "I'll meet you there," I said. He nodded and left. I closed the door slowly. Jessie stood now. "Downtown," she said. "Yes." She glanced under the table, then at me. They moved back out. "No," I said quietly. "They're alternating." She folded her arms. "You think this is connected to the one here?" "Yes." "Because?" "They want to see if I split attention." She considered that. "And will you?" "No." Good. The archive building had thick stone walls and narrow windows. Old bones. I felt it before I stepped inside. Pressure. Low. Broad. Not sharp like the alley. Not precise like the street. This was weight. Liam stood near the entrance, speaking to CSU. He saw me and walked over immediately. "You shouldn't have come alone," he said. "I didn't." He looked behind me. Jesse gave him a tight nod. "She's unofficial," he said. "She's useful," I replied. He let it go. "This one's different," he said. "How?" "Inside." We stepped past the tape. The body was positioned in the center of a large circular reading room. No alley walls, no tight street geometry. Open space, high ceiling. The spiral carved into the victim's chest was larger. Wider arcs, deeper cuts, and around the body, 7 small metal slivers embedded in the wooden floor, equidistant, forming a ring. Anchor fragments. My pulse slowed. "They're scaling," I said. Liam nodded grimly. "You see it too?" "Yes." "This one human?" "Yes." "Random?" "No." "Why not?" "Because this building sits on the original foundation grid." He blinked. "How do you know that?" "I've been here before." "When?" "Years ago." "For what?" "Research." He didn't push. Good. Jessie crouched near one of the metal fragments. "Same composition as the one in the body?" she asked. "Yes." "Then they're installing hardware." "Exactly." Liam looked between us. "Hardware for what?" "For load distribution." "Smaller words," he said again. "They're building a frame," I said. "For what?" "For something that needs structural balance." He looked at the 7 fragments. 7 points. "Yes." "You said last night that 7 would stabilize something." "I did." His gaze snapped to mine. "So this is it?" "No," I said immediately. "Why not?" "Because I'm not here yet." He stared at me. "That's the point," I continued. "They're not triggering full activation." "Then what is this?" "Stress test." "Of what?" "Of how much pressure the city can hold before I intervene." Silence. Jessie stood slowly. "Evie," she said carefully, "if they activate 7 at once." "They won't," I cut in. "How do you know?" "Because I'm standing here." The air shifted. Subtle. The metal fragments vibrated faintly against the floor. No one else noticed. I stepped forward, slow, centered myself in the ring. "Evie," Liam warned. "Don't touch anything," I said. The spiral on the corpse darkened, not glowing, absorbing. The air above the body thinned. Not a slit, not a tear. A dome. Wide. Transparent. Pressing down like a lens. They weren't opening anything. They were compressing, measuring pressure tolerance. I didn't pulse. I didn't cut. I held. Let the dome press and let it calculate. Pain built behind my eyes. Not explosive. Sustained. This was endurance, not force. "They're timing you," Jessie said quietly. "Yes." The pressure increased. My knees trembled. My left hand went numb. They were measuring duration now. How long I could hold before responding. Fine. I changed nothing. I didn't give them output. Didn't give them spike. I gave them silence. The dome quivered, adjusted, tightened, then faded, not broken, not cut, withdrawn. The metal fragments stilled. The spiral dulled. The air returned. I swayed slightly. Liam caught my elbow. "You okay?" "Yes." "You didn't do anything." "I did exactly what I needed to." "And that was?" "Nothing." He stared at the body. "They're escalating." No, I said again. They're measuring thresholds. And what did they learn? I looked at the ring of fragments, at the deliberate spacing, at the precision. They learned I don't flinch. Jessie watched me closely. And what did you learn? She asked. I met her eyes. That this isn't about breaches. Liam's voice was low. Then what is it about? I looked around the archive room, at the architecture, at the placement, at the calculated restraint. It's about scale, I said. And I'm the unit they're measuring against. Silence settled heavy in the room. They weren't trying to break the city. Not yet. They were building something that required me, and they were making sure I was strong enough to survive it. End of chapter 7. The investigation continues in the next chapter. Thanks for listening.